Hey guys, Papa Pete back today with another episode of Inty Homebrew Spotlight. And today I'm going to feature the first game that I've looked at from Intelligentvision by David Harley. And that is Shark Shark 2. I've recently gotten this copy of this game and played it quite a bit. I frankly didn't have a whole lot of experience with the original because it just wasn't one of the games that I had as a kid, which sort of part and parcel is because of the history that game had when they originally released it in such small numbers, thinking it was a little kid's game, when in fact it ended up being one of the most highly recognized, one of the most favorite games on the original Intellivision system. So anyway, let's look at the adjustments and the modifications that David Harley made when he created Shark Shark 2.
Papa Pete, the old ass gamer. Papa Pete, the old ass gamer. If you haven't grown up by the age of 50, you don't have to.
After the video, don't forget to check out IntellivisionCollector.com for all your Intellivision needs. That's IntellivisionCollector.com. The original Shark Shark was released in 1982, and it was about the only creation by programmer Ji-Wen Chow. She got the inspiration for Shark Shark from the old Chinese proverb, "Big fish eat little fish." Now, I haven't done Shark Shark in the 125 yet, so I'm not going to go into too much detail on the exact specifics of the original game, but suffice it to say, it wasn't anticipated to be a huge release. It was thought of for little kids, so they only released a very small number when they first put it out. It went on to become one of the most highly rated games in the history of Intellivision, and ended up having very, very big sales, although it was sort of after the fact. It was a little bit too late, but that's okay. We get to enjoy that game now. Now, that being said, how do you take a game like Shark Shark, which is really beloved by so many different people? I mean, it went on to create a genre of games that you see in modern systems like Feeding Frenzy and various other games where the big fish eats the little fish. This was the first one. So how do you take a game like that, which is loved by so many people, and improve upon it and create a homebrew game with enough differences yet enough similarities to maintain the love that the people had for the original? Well, David Harley took on this challenge back in 2019, and he created a game which very, very similar to the old one, but at the same time incorporated some well thought out tweaks and improvements aimed at making your experience better when you're playing the game. Now let's talk about the different things about Shark Shark 2, which the controls, the graphics, the sounds, and what's different from the original. In Shark Shark, the object of the game is you control a small fish, and you're trying to eat the smaller fish to grow larger so you can eat more and more of the other fish and creatures that are on the screen. I guess it's just a lot of fun to play is the best way to put it. You also have a shark that swims around the screen. It can't be eaten, but you can nibble away at its tail until it finally dies, which is kind of a neat thing. It lets you grow big as well, but it's very, very challenging. It was very difficult to find things about this beloved game that made it better, but one thing he did is he made it so it wasn't based upon a number of lives. When you died in the original Shark Shark, you had like 5 lives, and once you lost them all, the game was over, which is pretty routine. But what David Harley did, he created a system where you could select a number of minutes. It didn't matter how many times you died within those minutes. You always respawned after every time you died, but you respawned back at the very smallest size. So the object was to go as long as possible and be to get as large as possible and score the most amount of points. You played the game until the time limit was over, but it didn't automatically end when the time limit went over. It ended actually when you died the first time after the expiration of the time limit. And I'm going to tell you the truth, it's very fun that way. You get to play the game, you get to experience a lot of different things, and I just like it a lot better than the per live system. And it lets you know you're going to play you can select between 1 minute or 9 minutes, and that sort of leads into the other part of it, which is the 2-player mode. In 2-player Shark Shark 2, you have a choice of either being competitive or you could be cooperative. So if you're competitive, when your shark is larger, you could eat the other player. But when you're playing cooperative, it's just you two. You don't hurt each other, and you're just going around the screen trying to eat as many fish as possible and score as many points. But one thing about it that was very interesting as well, in the original 2-player game, which was only competitive in Shark Shark, once one player died, you couldn't respawn until the other player also lost their lives. So one player would end up sitting there for quite a while. In the new version, Shark 2, you can respawn immediately at any time. Right after you die, you can hit the button or you will automatically respawn right away. So you're never sitting there. You still get to play the full amount of time. A big improvement over the original. Now, as for actual controls of the original Shark, there's a dash and there's a stop button. And in the original, the dash button, where you can make a little spurt with your fish swimming through the water if you're trying to avoid something or trying to catch something, it was by hitting keypad numbers 1, 2, or 3. And then the stop button was the side buttons. Well, that really wasn't all that intuitive, so they changed it for Shark 2 and made the top side buttons the dash button. And not only did they make the dash button the different button, but they made it so if you could hold in the button, you could dash the whole way across the screen. In the original, it was just short little spurts. You might go, 2 or 3 inches across the screen in a little spurt. But in the Shark 2, you actually can, as long as you hold in, you can dash right the whole way across the screen. And it feels really good. Now, in Shark 2, also the 2 bottom buttons are stop buttons and spawn buttons. So it puts everything right at your fingertips. It's much easier to control this way than trying to reach around to the keypad. The graphics in Shark are almost identical as Shark 2. There is one little pixel difference on the side. They extended the screen just a little bit. It's difficult to notice. If you compare the two, you may be able to see it. I was talking to David Harley, and he said that's one thing that a lot of people don't pick up on, but it just makes the screen a little bit wider to make for a bigger field of gameplay. Now, the music in Shark is one of the most beloved things about the original game, and thankfully David didn't change it at all. It's the same music at the end when you get the game over screen, and actually the music from Shark was very high on my list of the top 10 pieces of music inspired by the Intellivision. So there's a couple different songs. There's the actual music from the game, and there's also a piece of music that was created for Intellivision Hi-Fi from Shark. And so the music from the game is still in Shark 2, as well it should be.
Shark!
So overall, like I said before, Shark is not a game that we had when I was a kid. I didn't play it a whole lot. It wasn't really well distributed back in the 80s. But it's become one of the most beloved all-time games on the system, all-time original game. It's even coming to the Amico as one of the 5 pack-in titles, and rightfully so, because it's going to be a big seller for the system. I probably played Shark 2 more in the last couple weeks than I've ever played Shark on the original system. So at the end of the day, it's sort of a big challenge to take a game that's so beloved as Shark and try to make changes and make them better. Make things even better than they already were. And I think David Harley has really done this. Is changed the type of gameplay, the 2-player game being competitive or cooperative, and the timed factor as opposed to the number of players factor. That is a real ingenious thing that makes the game that much more fun in my eyes. I really enjoy the time games much more than the one-by-number lot. The graphics, didn't play with the graphics a whole lot because they were great. The music, didn't touch it at all. It was beautiful. The controls, he just made some basic improvements, which are the minor complaints that people had from the original game. So with all these things taken into consideration, the great graphics, the sounds, the improved gameplay, the improved types of games that you can play, I'm going to give Shark 2 by Intelligentvision an 8 out of 10 rating. Shark 2 is no longer in print. You can no longer get a physical copy. It was originally sold with just the boards. It was a ROM programmed onto a board. They took pre-orders and they sold those and then were distributed. You could put it in your own Intellivision cartridge case, whatever one you could fit. If you wanted to sacrifice a cartridge, put it in, that's what you would do with it. And then later on, you were able to buy a package which included the box, the manual, and overlays and a label for your cartridge. Kind of a neat way to do things. Unfortunately, I missed out on that. I didn't get one myself. I do not have a physical copy of this one, but you can still on Intellivision.us get buy the ROM for use in your Ultimate Flashback or your LTO Flash. I really recommend picking up the game to play it. Well, that's it for today's episode of Inty Homebrew Spotlight. Charcoal has finally settled down a little bit now that we're almost to the end. Thanks for spending a little bit of time with me today. Don't forget to hit like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the next episode of Inty Homebrew Spotlight. Take care.
Papa Pete, the old ass gamer. Papa Pete, the old ass gamer. If you haven't grown up by the age.
Howdy folks, TJ here from the Intellivision Amico Society. You're watching Papa Pete, the old guy gamer.